on start.
I'm having laptop issues.
No worries. You can get your laptop
Here,
sorted. Folks are starting to join. Hello, hello. Oh, and of course,
cue the baby.
Yeah, exactly. Cue start webinar, cue baby noises. I'll grab him for a second so he can see everybody as they're joining.
Okay.
Yeah, look at. Not that you can. I don't think you know what you're looking at. No, wrong way. So welcome everyone. We're just going to give everyone a few minutes to join and then we will get started. So I guess we don't need to be so quiet though. How's life where everyone else is? Oh, look at that. Q baby sped up too. We promised a real candid conversation today. We've got it all.
We jinxed it by talking about sped up.
I know. Oh, there's Anita. Okay, I'm just going to promote her to panelist. Oh, I lost her in the list. Okay. All right, so I'm going to promote Nita. We'll wait till Nita comes on screen as well because we've got one more panelist to join us. And then we'll get started. Welcome everyone. Maybe as you're joining, oh, thank you, Sonia. As you're joining, feel free to say hi in the chat. Let us know where you're calling from. Oh my gosh, tuning in from. And for the panelists, you may need to change your chats to everyone for them to see it, for everyone else to see it. Because right now, I think, yeah, most of you are in host and panelist chats. Hi, Nita.
Hello, hello.
Awesome. So all of the panelists are here. So I guess we'll go ahead and get started. So my name is Erin Blaskie, and thank you so much for tuning in today to Balancing Businesses and Raising Babies. As you can see, I've got my baby here, Cade. He is 4 months old. Not sure how long he'll stay on camera for, because, you know, babies are very unpredictable. I am also the mother of an 11-year-old daughter. So I've got kind of both ends of the spectrum covered there. And I'm a marketing consultant here in Ottawa. So I'm going to pass it next to Ashleigh to just introduce yourself and maybe even just talk a little bit about your entrepreneurial journey as well.
Yeah, thanks, Erin. It's great to be here with you again. Thanks everyone for joining. My name's Ashleigh Kennedy. I am a neuroscientist by training. Spent years and years and years in the academic space. And kind of got to the point where I felt really frustrated with, this really innovative technology just being put into academic reports and really never implemented into healthcare. And so I decided about 3.5 years ago with an 18-month-old, a almost 3-year-old, and an almost 5-year-old to start a company. And I had most of my family ask me with enthusiasm to wait until the timing was a little bit better. But I knew the timing was right for the company. And so with my husband alongside me as my co-founder, decided to launch into this journey of entrepreneurship. And I met Erin very early on. I think I brought kids with gastro to Elspark and all kinds, probably spread all kinds of diseases in those first few months. But I think probably because of my kids have had an awesome ride over the past 3.5 years, building a company and, trying to keep life balance, probably largely driven by my kids' need for me to disengage from work. It's been a good journey so far.
And Ashleigh, you've got three kids and a dog. That's
we got
full
3
house.
kids, a dog. We added a Bengal cat to the mix.
Oh, wow.
Who's like a toddler. She knocks over my coffee multiple times a day. So we've got a really busy house and lots of friends coming through. But like my kids have known nothing other than me building a business. And are part of it every day, from logo design to marketing strategy. they've got their opinion about everything.
I love that. Well, thank you. And thanks so much for being here. Well, let's jump next to Kelly. I'm just kind of going in order of the folks on my screen. So Kelly.
Hi, everyone. My name is Kelly Rusk. I'm a marketing consultant in Ottawa. My story is that I met my husband about 3 or 4 years ago. He had a 2-year-old. He was a widower. He had a 2-year-old. So I became a bit of an instant mom. And I was at the time working a pretty busy, demanding job in a marketing communications agency as a partner. And after some time, I decided it was just time to go out on my own and be a consultant. I had been trying, at that point, I'd been trying to get pregnant for a couple of years. It wasn't happening. So I thought I'm going to, put that aside and work on my business. And surprise, surprise, I found myself pregnant right as the world was declaring a pandemic about 6 months into my business. So it's been a wild adventure. I work as a marketing consultant with a lot of clients in the startup space here in Ottawa and also in based out of Washington, DC, doing digital strategy, marketing strategy, sort of whatever they needed, I can help them with. So that's been my adventure. I now have Jolene, who is a 15-month-old, and my older daughter, Katie, who is 6 in grade 1. And we've been navigating the last 2 years of school closures and infants. I went back to work also after 6 weeks. So it was a little intense. My husband stayed home for almost over a full year. So we had an interesting adventure of raising babies, working, all being stuck in our home for so long. So very happy to have the house back to myself now.
Yeah, no kidding. And you're bringing up like tons of great points as you're talking, even about, the whole, I was in the same boat as you, started a business 2 weeks later, found out I was pregnant. I was like, that's great timing. Thank you, universe. As people are listening to this, if there are specific things that you're resonating with, feel free to go ahead and start putting like questions in the question box. I think the pandemic is another really big topic. Obviously, we could spend a whole hour just talking about the impacts of that on motherhood and business. But there's lots of things that you talked about in there that, navigating this new world that we find ourselves in, right? So thank you for sharing. And I'm going to jump over to Darcy next.
Just need to unmute. Hi, everyone. My name is Darcy Boucher. I'm founder, owner of Bowda Creative Communications. So we're a boutique digital marketing agency. I'm kind of the reverse. I started my business back in 2013, or what I affectionately refer to as my first baby, because it really was, when you build something, it's your baby. And I've just been, as a lot of us entrepreneurs are, kind of a workaholic since. All I know is really just work. And then I got pregnant at the end of 2020 with our first, and it happened a little sooner than we anticipated, but we rolled with it. And so just kind of navigate both. I had a high risk pregnancy too, so that didn't help because I didn't have as much time to kind of prepare before going on mat leave. So that certainly affected things as well. And now my son is almost 8 months old. I came back in a part-time-ish capacity at about 4-ish months, I think, and have been trying to navigate and figure things out ever since.
Yeah, Darcy, you and I obviously are in a very similar stage, and I've often looked to you and some of your Instagram posts and things like that to sort of see like, okay, what's coming next? What can I expect? Because I thought it would get easier as the baby got older to like navigate work,
No.
and it really doesn't.
I'm finding it harder because he's not a potato anymore. He's mobile. Right. He's pulling himself up. He's everywhere. I can't blink, and he's on the other side of the room. So it's much, much harder.
Absolutely.
Baby jail helps.
And baby jail helps. We haven't bought one yet, but with this new rolling this weekend that I was telling you all about just before we started, I know I'm quickly headed in that direction. Awesome. Thank you. Aki, do you want to go next?
Sure thing. Hi, can you guys hear me well?
Yes.
Awesome. So I'm Aki. Full name is Aquilas Dapaah. You can call me Aki. Many people do. My Instagram handle is financially_savvy_girl. I'm a barrister and solicitor by trade. I've been practicing law for the past 12 years, specializing in litigation. So in other words, pretty much the courtroom is my playground. But when I'm not working, I am also founder of Financially Savvy Girl, which is a platform to empower women to be economically empowered. So I provide coaching, e-courses, and financial and fitness tips as well. I do have a fitness and wealth combined coaching called Fit and Wealthy. And we just pretty much empower mothers and women to be, to prioritize themselves, really, self-care journey, and really building their wealth for generations to come. I'm also the co-founder of the Women Investors Network in Canada. In essence, it's a group of like-minded women who are excited about investing. I invest, my husband and I invest a lot in real estate, and I'm an award-winning real estate investor. So this platform, the Women Investors Network, is really a combination of women all over Canada who love to invest in the market and in real estate, and really just doing some joint venture deals, and really just, you know, when women are economically empowered, we understand that the world really starts changing, as everybody knows here. So in a nutshell, I would say that's me. I'm a mommy. I have two little ones. We have a 4-year-old about to be 5. Seems like she's going on 20, but she's actually 5 years old. And she's actually my reason for starting Financially Savvy Girl. There were just letters to her, but that just really turned into something a lot bigger than I had anticipated. And then we also have a 9-month-old baby boy, Aaron Michael, and he's just the peace and the joy of our home these days. So this is me in a nutshell.
I love that. Thank you. And honestly, isn't there something so nice too about like having a baby during this time? You know, like if you feel any amount of like lack of joy, you can't help it, you know, but see it come through their face. So it's such a special time. Yeah.
Absolutely.
Well, thank you. And thank you for the work you're doing with Financially Savvy Girl as well. I think, you know, I've talked about this offline as well, but I think it's incredibly important for, you know, girls to be financially empowered, and I just love it. So thank you. Yeah. And Nita.
There we go. Unmute. So I hope you can hear me okay, because as entrepreneurial life goes, I have a flood in the warehouse today. So there's fans going on in the background. So please don't mind that and the setup for today. But my name's Nita Tandon. I'm the founder and CEO of Dalcini Stainless. And so my background is I was in the pharmaceutical industry for years on the business side of things, and traveling countries around the world, going to medical conferences and busy. And at 40, I decided to move back to Ottawa, and I met my husband at 40, had my daughter at 41, and or our daughter, and motherhood was difficult for me because I was so busy all the time that suddenly being sort of stagnant, and it wasn't my thing. So I decided I needed to start something, and nothing quite resonated. So I would honestly say that I'm one of those people that goes by my internal clock as opposed to what is supposed to happen. So I had my daughter at 41. I started a company very soon afterwards. Everyone told me not to do an international company because there was a lot of logistic issues. And so I just went with what my gut told me to do. And here I am now. I create stainless steel goods. They are manufactured in India. We are doing a completely sustainable supply chain, very clean all the way through. I now import and export, and I do it all while still being a mommy to my daughter. And I create my own hours, and I kind of go against the grain with so many things, but it is the most right thing for me.
Yeah, I love that. Thank you so much for sharing. So as you can, and what I'm loving is in the chat, there's so many like questions and conversations, and the panelists are already jumping in to answer some of those right away. So this is what this is all about. This is, you know, a true candid conversation about the realities of this. So keep that up. That is amazing. So I did see someone already asked the question that I wanted to start with, which is, so Robin was talking about tips and tricks for shifting from work to momming, whether it's at the end of the day or throughout the day. And one of the things I wanted to talk about, because I'm a very, you know, tactical person often for myself, and I love hearing how other people, you know, are doing things to see if there's anything I can learn from it. Why don't we start there? So I'm not going to call on anyone because I want those of you that feel like you've got it figured out which I'm going to laugh at that. But anyway, if you feel like you've, structured your day in a way that is actually providing you with that time to work and that time to be a mom, even if it's not perfect, because let's be honest, it's always a work in progress. I'd love to hear from you. So whoever wants to kind of volunteer, talk through maybe how you've structured your day, anything you're doing that you find working. And then I know I'll be listening for tips, because I will not be answering this question because I don't have it figured out whatsoever. So anyone who wants to volunteer, what does your day currently look like? Kelly, yeah, let's go there first.
I'll go first. First, I want to say I feel totally unqualified to answer this because I do feel like I did a bad job of it for quite a while, but that was just life. I think, being easy on yourself and going like, okay, sometimes, my baby needs me when I have a meeting or something else. So having those expectations, I think, was the biggest thing for me. But, sometimes I had Zoom calls while I was breastfeeding because my baby was stubborn and she would not take a bottle. She only wanted the boob. So that's just what I had to do. So I find, like my best advice is go easy on yourself, because it's not always going to be easy. Like I had a pretty good nap schedule down, and like, no matter what, like the days I had a call over nap, I thought, oh, I'll make a call today. She would not sleep those days. So, so my advice is just go easy on yourself, because the more you try to control the situation, the less you're going to be able to control it.
Yeah, that's good advice. And it's so true. Like even today I had this thing and I was like, oh, he'll probably be napping. And then of course he slept till 8:30, which then, throws off the whole day schedule. So yeah, best laid plans, but hard to follow through.
Yeah, I'll follow up on what Kelly was saying. I kind of take baby's lead. Baby's pretty good in the morning. He's usually pretty happy. So that's when I try to put him in like baby jail or something and bring my laptop and try to get a few things done. Also, like I said, I'm not fully back. So I'm trying to be realistic with what I can take on. So I rarely do calls right now, just because it's so unpredictable and it's really hard to schedule. So I have, people I can delegate to on my team. So it's unless I absolutely have to be the one to call, I try not to do calls. And if I do have to, I coordinate with my husband who works from home. So we're very lucky for that. And we have a babysitter part-time as well too. So with the babysitter, again, my biggest advice is to start before you need it. I was telling the other ladies, I didn't account for the time it would take for baby to be comfortable with babysitter. Babysitter showed up first day. I'm like, here you go. And that's not really how it works. Baby had to get much more comfortable with her. Now I can leave him with the babysitter, but we're on our 8th, 9th time. So build in those processes and that help and support before you need it.
Yeah, that's great advice. Because I think it's one of those things that I don't think is even on the radar, to your point, right? Like I think we think like, oh, we'll just get help. They'll come in, it'll be great. Here, take the baby. And then baby freaks out.
And everyone's different. Every baby's different too, right? Like for example, our issue right now is my baby won't nap in his crib. So every nap is a friggin' contact nap. And it's nice once in a while, but not every nap, right? So most people get the free time during the naps, whereas I'm not free during that nap. So that's the time where I can't do calls or things like that too, right? So don't beat yourself up over it. Just kind of roll with it and kind of let baby take lead if you can.
Yeah.
I did a lot of working from my phone for during contact naps.
Yeah.
Like, what else to do?
Yeah.
Exactly. Do what you can.
I know, Aki, you've got, a child that's a little bit older, and then now you've got the baby as well. What about for yourself? Like, did you find that you had like a schedule pre-baby, and then obviously that had to be modified? What's working for you right now?
Absolutely. I think the transition from 1 to 2 is, you hear it, people say it, oh my God, it's crazy, the transition from 1 to 2, but it's actually insane. I think we lose a little bit of our sanity when you start having children, and the more you have, the more you lose. But it's so important to have, I believe, like a routine that you eventually start establishing. I know for me, what worked is, sleep training the babies early. I did it with my little one, our daughter first. She was sleeping in her room, in her crib, by the time she was 2 months. And, I know it was like heavily, there's two camps to it. Some women are like, don't do that. Some women are like, do that. And I'm like, look, this is my sanity. So I do what works for me. And I know that for her, she wasn't sleeping well when she was near me, because she would always smell, breast milk, and then she would like ground and not sleep well. as soon as, you know, I saw how she slept so much more peaceful when she's not in my presence, you know, I just suffered through it until she was fully transitioned. And within a week, because she was so young, she was able to just start and get into that routine.
Yeah.
Now, obviously, baby number 2, I'm like, I got this. We tried the same thing, you know. He's like, nope, this is not working for me. So it's just not. And he's 9 months and he's not fully established in a full night routine yet. He is glued to my breast and he simply won't take any bottle. So you have to do what worked for me with baby number 2, with Erin. What really worked is I found that because he's always with me and we're always doing everything together because he's still breastfeeding, it was important for me to establish a morning routine that really worked for me to take care and pour into myself before I start pouring into him and toddler and husband and businesses and all that. So, you know, waking up early, my 5 a.m.s are kind of very crucial for me. And I spend 2 hours, you know, just doing my journaling, gratitude journaling, my meditation, yoga, praying, and working out. And by the time they actually wake up and I start hearing mommy, mommy, mommy by 7, then I've already poured, you know, substantially into my cup, and I'm ready to pour out from that. Because prior to that, I would wake up, I would be angry, everyone screaming, mommy, everyone. But now, because I've poured so much into myself, when they wake up, I'm like, hello. Now I'm ready for that one to sort of just pull layers until I'm so tired, I need to go back and nap again, right? So.
I agree. Through the ups and downs of the pandemic, we would have, you know, all 3 at school, 1 at school, nobody at school, but that early morning routine of pouring into yourself so that you can like handle the multitasking that starts at 7 and doesn't end until they're all in bed. That was like essential. The exercising, the meditation, whatever it is. And then I think a few people in the chat have said when it's off time, it's off time. Like it doesn't work for everybody, but for me, my cell phone and my computer stay in my office. My family hates, like my extended family hates that because they can't reach me, but that was a priority, and that was the decision I made where when I'm with my kids, they're top priority and nothing can interrupt that time. So, you know, schedules have been crazy during the past 2 years, but those things are consistent. Early mornings and focused, dedicated time with each child. So we have our special time once a week. Each kid gets special time where they get to kind of dictate what we do. And when their tank's filled up like that, they can roll with a lot of the kind of changing demands that I have because of my job.
I love that. I love that you spoke to like the, you know, the even the demands that your child or children have, right? And trying to meet those as well. But thank you both for talking about the morning routine. It looks like I have to get up at 5 a.m. now. I don't want to, but it sounds like it's beneficial. So,
but then you get to go to bed at like 8:30.
I go back.
What?
I take a nap at 11 when everybody wakes up. I'm back in bed. The toddler's at school, the baby's napping. I'm just sleeping.
Totally.
I'm okay. I've done so much already since 5.
It sounds like a tough thing to do, but the morning thing is so good. It's beautiful. It's quiet. It's probably the most peaceful time all day.
So you do it too, Nita?
Oh, 100%. And I've been doing it for years. And it's when everyone else is asleep and I kind of tiptoe down and I just like smile. It's like my time. Yeah, I love it.
Amazing.
And take what you can get, right? Like I'm not great at it every single day, but days I've told my husband, like, I need like 10 minutes just to do some yoga, like just some stretching, move my body, because I'm hurting from being on the floor with the baby all day. The days where I get that in, it's a game changer. My day goes so much better. I can handle the freakouts, the crying so much better because I've gotten the time for myself, right? And I just wanted to add, like, be flexible with when you have work time. Like, for example, yesterday was family day and a day off. So my husband took the baby, and instead of feeling guilty about it, they had a nice daddy deacon day, as he likes to call it, right? So I was able to get some work done, win-win. They get some quality time in because he feels differently in the sense that he doesn't get as much face time with the baby. So it's win-win.
Yeah, I love that. And it's so true. Like, you have to take what you can get. especially in the early days, right? And it doesn't, it doesn't really change that much. I mean, obviously, like my daughter is 11, right? So she's a lot more independent. And I think for me, like the contrast between having an 11-year-old daughter running a business and then being thrown into like newborn running a business, totally different ball games, like completely not even in the same, city. It's been a wild ride. But I learned a lot. Oh, no, I will. Yeah, I want you to, I was just gonna say, I've learned so much already. So Nita, please jump back in.
I was just gonna say, I mean, I would love to do yoga in the morning and I would love to work out. I don't. I know that's, I'm getting there eventually, but one of the things I noticed is that there's a lot of women that are up early in the morning. And so sometimes my alone time is me texting with other moms about nothing to do with work, but we're laughing and it's this joy and it's this fun without interruptions every 2 seconds. And I just find sometimes it just needs to be something that is so purely for you, whether it's that morning coffee, whether it's yoga, whatever it is. And for me, it's stupid chats without me getting interrupted by my daughter. And so I have an 11-year-old daughter as well, but I also have a brother who has Down syndrome. And so there are definitely two very demanding kids right now. And I'm trying to set a role model, which is don't be on technology all day long. And meanwhile, I'm doing that. So I do it hidden.
Yeah, I love that though. I've got a mom's group that I chat with. And honestly, you're right. It's life-giving, especially when you're like right in a moment, or even if you're not, and you just want that kind of mom connection or whatever it might be. Like it's so nice to have that. And it actually spawns a question that I have for the group, which is, when you have a business and you're raising children, that there's already a lot of demands just in those 2 columns, like let alone like running the house and everything else. Okay, this is like a 2-part question. One, how do you fit in any social time, with girlfriends, with fellow moms, with, whomever it might be, family? How do you fit that in? But then also, how do you manage the expectations that everybody has? Because everybody, at least the way I feel like I'm constantly torn in 1,000 directions almost at all times. There's very few moments of solace, which I need to work on. But maybe anyone want to share about those 2 things? Like, how do you find community and maintain it? And then also, how do you handle expectations? Who'd like to volunteer to jump in first?
I actually find community through my business network, because I find a lot of times people can't relate to me. So sometimes, like I have a trademark lawyer and we're genuinely friends. She's got 2 kids. And so sometimes we'll meet, we'll talk business, we'll put it aside, and then it's just social and someone who can relate to the struggles of trying to balance work and family and marriage and all of these different things. So sometimes I think my social is with the people that are in my business realm as well.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, which is completely fair, right? I mean, we spend a lot of time working. So it kind of makes sense that a lot of the folks that we surround ourselves with from a work perspective are those people as well. Anyone else want to?
I agree with that. Absolutely. And I think just being realistic and honest with people, because not everyone knows how best to work around this. Like, for example, having people come to us is obviously easier because getting a baby up and out and, you have things at home to then play with. So having friends visit us. I even had a friend who wanted to hang out one weekend. And she said, oh, it was last minute, so I didn't message you because like you have a baby. I'm like, no, actually last minute is great because it all depends what the baby is like that day. Having plans like I'll see you Friday at 3 stresses me out more because I have no idea what day that's going to be like, if the baby slept well, right? So just communicating that and what is best for you, I find really helps. And for me, I've always struggled with boundaries. You want to say yes to everybody. I found having a baby really helps me, have my boundaries because it becomes bigger than you. It becomes about the baby. So he's first. So that really puts things in line for me and makes decisions much easier because it's about him, right? It's not just me at stake, it's him. So I found that has certainly helped me have boundaries and see where best I should be spending my time.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, thank you.
I just want to expand on the boundaries. I found, like, especially with my first daughter, because I didn't give birth to her and I sort of flew into this life. So I had a really hard time with friends sort of understanding that balance. And, to them, they're like, it's not your kid, but, to me, I'm like, she is my kid. And so one, like it kind of told me a lot about some of the people in my life and the relationships. And I did unfortunately end up like losing a lot of friends because I kind of reevaluated a relationship and I was like, I don't know if we're actually are really friends, because I was just sort of always available when they wanted me to. And so I would, okay, this, not. But then when I pushed back and put up those boundaries, the sort of, it's like some of the negativity I got from that just kind of told me that, you know, you're not really, we're not really like the kind of relationship I want to have. And that's fine. And also just like, that's a really negative example, but shifting who is in your life, like understanding that at different phases, like Nita said, like you can't relate to certain people in certain situations because of what you have going on. So just understanding, accepting. I've definitely taken in a lot more moms into my life now, which is great, like having back and forth, having questions. And, you know, some of my like non-parent friends are like a little bit on the back burner. I still try to make time for them if they're, you know, if we have a really good relationship and they're important to me. Like Darcy said, I'm definitely the last minute texting them, usually after bedtime, texting them at 8:30, being like, hey, do you want to go grab a drink right now? and when it works out, it's great. But yeah, just like letting go of expectations around that and has probably been my, like the only thing keeping me sane in regard.
Absolutely.
I was just going to say also, like to add to Kelly's point, it's that your friendship circle shifts because your priorities shift, your values shift, and all of that. And the other thing too, I would say, is that I learned a lot from my husband, because every Wednesday he goes out and plays hockey. Like he makes time to do something for him. And I just constantly felt guilty trying to do more and more and more and look for perfection, and the house needed to be clean and all of that. And he said, who are you doing that for? Because I don't care.
Ooh.
And so I just suddenly thought, oh my gosh. And then I thought, I started getting angry because he'd meet the guys for drinks and I can't believe you're leaving me at home with the baby. And he said, but no one ever said you can't go out. I just always assumed that I should stay home and do these things. And so it was also learning, taking a look around and not putting the expectations that I didn't even know I was putting on myself, to have someone kind of point it out to you and say, get out of the house, do something else, connect with a girlfriend, go for dinner, watch a trashy movie, like whatever you need to, you know, just go to the theater, even by yourself if you need to, but get out. Yeah.
Oh my gosh. Can we just pause for a second on that one thing you said, which is like, who are you doing this for?
Who are you doing it for?
Like literally, like I have, like, I'm not joking. Like I literally almost burst into tears because I was like, whoa, the number of things I'm holding on to right now that I couldn't answer that question for is humongous. So thank you. Because I think that you just breathed some, like, I'm literally like tearing up. So anyone else want to jump in so I can process this emotion?
I definitely want to add to that. I think it was Are we all speaking?
Oh, no,
Yeah, we're all excited.
Yeah. I think, Nina, when you spoke about, expectation, because I wanted to say, I'm like, sometimes the biggest expectations comes from ourselves, especially as mother. You become mother, you have all these layers of expectation, to be the perfect mom, to be the perfect this, the perfect wife, the perfect housekeeper, the perfect everything. But really, like, extending a level of grace to ourselves is so needed in this journey, because we can't ignore the fact that you just had a baby. Our hormones gets all sorts of places. There's postpartum, there's so many things that actually happens, and we always put ourselves in the back burner, instead of starting to put ourselves in the forefront. So when your husband asked you that question about who are you doing that for, it's really like a time for us to stop and reflect and be like, no, seriously, who are we doing all this for? And can we let go of those expectations, whether they're internal expectation or external expectation? Can we just let go and just do our best for the day? If my best today means that I got to even just shower before noon, wow, that's amazing. That's okay. If my best means, I actually got to cook something or clean something, that's even amazing. And sometimes it means none of that, and you just have to be in bed with the baby all day, and that's okay as well. Like, we're so hard on ourselves sometimes as women and mothers, and we just need to extend a level of grace to ourselves. And the whole thing about boundaries, I think children actually helps us. For me anyways, I know for me, my children help me establish boundaries. I am so protective of my energy that I have no problem at this stage in my life to be like, no, this doesn't work for me today. That 3 p.m. Friday appointment that we're trying to make, no, I don't think that's for me. And it's okay.
I love that.
Being able
Thank
to say
you.
no. Being able to say no is such a skill. I'm trying to teach my daughter early. Like, obviously there's a million ways she needs to say no, but protecting your time and not feeling like you need to make everybody else around you happy. And sometimes that means employees, and sometimes that means family and friends. And so I just want to follow up on that, having the house perfect idea. There's two thoughts. So the first one is that sometimes you actually need that cleaned for your mental health. And I saw a few comments on that, and I'm the same way. Like, my house just needs to be clean for my mental health. So whether that means I book an afternoon off or I pay somebody to do it, that house allows me to focus on my kids. It allows me to be calm with my kids, and it allows me to get my work done. So that's like a non-negotiable for me. And like recently, I'm not the one cleaning it, and I had like lots of guilt about that early on, but I needed that in place. And I think as moms, we carry a huge cognitive burden to make sure the house is running smoothly. Like, are those mitts really waterproof that I sent him with today? I don't know. Like, there's all of these things that you're thinking about while you're in meetings. And what I have found is assigning some of those things to my husband. Like, if you're fortunate to have a partner walking this journey with you, assigning some of those cognitive load things to another person is really helpful. They might not do it to your standards. They might do it late. They might get in trouble by the teacher 7 times because he still doesn't have shoes in his classroom, but it's not my problem. You know what I mean? So like, if you have that partner walking this journey, whether it's like your mom or your husband or whoever it is, assigning some of the cognitive load can really allow you to focus and have some more peace.
Yeah. Oh my
100%.
gosh.
I think,
Yeah. No, Darcy, please go. Yeah.
I was just going to say, I think letting go is a skill that moms need to learn. I've always struggled with it. And as a mom, I've just had to, you just have to, right? And to build on the point of self-care and taking time for yourself, I don't know about the rest of you ladies, but as an entrepreneur, I already sucked at that before being a mom. It's always been work first, right? So it's always been something, but I was able to function, high functioning anxiety probably, but I was able to somewhat function without it, right? Because I could just keep trucking. But as a mom, it's critical. Like, I can't function without making that self-care time, right? You can't pour from an empty cup. So it's more important than ever to make time for yourself, and whatever that looks like, whether it's your 10-minute yoga in the morning, whether it's paying someone to clean your house, whatever that looks like, to give you some peace, because you are the glue holding your family together. And again, you can't pour from an empty cup.
No. And honestly, even from my perspective, like, my free time right now, because I'm still like exclusively breastfeeding, and Aki, I'm like you, my son is like literally glued to my breast all the time. I'm like constantly nursing. But anyway, my like downtime, I've carved out a few in the week. So I have a mommy group that I go to at Rooted Wellness Center. It's an amazing wellness center in Canada. Like, shout out to them because they're doing incredible work. But I go there, and it's like a mom group. They lay out yoga mats for us to sit on. We put our babies out. They bring us coffee and tea. Like, it's just, you feel so taken care of, and it's run by 2 doulas. Anyway, that's my little like plug for what they're doing, because I think their work that they're doing and to build community amongst moms is so incredibly important. So I do that. And then I go to therapy on Saturdays, and that's my time. Like, and I know it sounds funny for therapy to be like my time, but I love like leaving the house. I grab a coffee, I go to therapy, and I have 1 hour where I have somebody who's just literally like there for me. and right now, that's what I've got, and I'm like, okay, we're rolling with this. This is what self-care looks like today.
This does not sound crazy at all. Like, the therapy part
Sounds
of
glorious.
It's so deep. Like,
I was going to say,
becomes like your friend. Like, I love
exactly.
girlfriend moment.
I know, and I pay her.
Erin, I was going to say,
Perfect.
for me, it was going to the grocery store. So therapy actually sounds much better. Like, I used to just love early days as a baby. I'm like, go to the grocery store, and I would just like take my time and just like slowly go through the aisles. And I'm like, this is so nice.
I know.
Buy whatever I want to buy.
we have a big window out front, and I'll get the text, honey, you're still in your car. What are you doing? I'm like, oh, I'm just taking a minute. I'm coming. Don't worry.
I'm taking this moment while the baby is asleep.
Yeah.
No, it's true. Okay, so I want to go to questions in a few minutes, but I want to spend a few minutes because something we talked about when we all met pre today that I thought was just so important was the evolution that happens to us as people. So it's kind of a nice, segue from talking about self-care, but really like the identity that we have about ourselves or around ourselves, pre-baby, pre-children, to what it looks like after. And Aki, you said it so beautifully when we were talking before. You talked about how, it's almost like we try so hard to like hold on to who we are, but we actually should spend the time discovering who we are now. So I don't know if you want to maybe jump in and talk a little bit about that.
Definitely. I mean, I noticed that with my first, there's something that happens when, you either get with a partner and you start having children or whatever, however you do it, in whatever sequence you do it in, but you start feeling like you're losing a part of yourself. You're losing sight of who you were and who you are. Like, I don't have time for me. And and you're trying, especially if you're a type A personality and whatnot, you're used to operating at a certain level of excellence and speed and whatnot, but you can't really do that anymore because there's a whole human being who's there depending on you, and you can't devote your time as you used to your work. Otherwise, you're killing yourself, slowly but surely. Now, with that comes a lot of feeling of inadequacy. You feel guilty, you feel inadequate, you feel like you've lost yourself, but really, and sometimes as a result of those feelings, we start wanting to chase after who we used to be, our old self. I'm trying to find her again, looking for, and sometimes we lose sight of what self-care is, and our self-care becomes trying to find her again. And I think it's very healthy when you allow yourself to accept that you are no longer her in that version as she was then, because there are so many new layers to your life now, and that's okay, and it's beautiful. And really start just embracing who you are becoming and get into a journey where you're discovering who you are today as a result of all these added layers. And when you embrace that, you really start forming your own norm as it is today. And it's beautiful. You discover her slowly but surely. There's going to be ups, there's going to be downs, but getting into that path where you start discovering, who am I today with all these beautiful, sometimes it could mean miscarriages along that path. There's so many things that happens in our motherhood journey. And some people lose their partners in the journey, whatever it may be. Discover who you are today, because those layers, those experiences are adding to the beautiful woman that you're becoming.
No, I love that. And Nita, not to put you on the spot, but I know, obviously you mentioned having a baby a little bit later. I'm almost 40 as well, having this baby. And I don't know if you want to, if you share this perspective or you want to share something different, but I know for myself, having a baby at this age means that I had my daughter a little earlier, and I feel like I changed enormously. And then I had to relearn who I was and get to know myself. And then I feel like I know myself more now at 40, but then having a baby again, like, wow, the jarring, transition between the two is I feel so different at this age. So I don't know if you want to maybe talk a little bit about your own experience.
I would agree with everything that's been said on the panel so far, because I think I was a type A personality. I did well, and I always worked and tried to have everything be perfect, and my home was organized, and I felt like that was very much who I was. I also have a brother with Down syndrome, and I felt that I was, in my mind, I thought I was already quite motherly to him to help him out and get him settled. And so I thought I wasn't going to change drastically when I had my daughter. But things changed 100% because she was very fussy. I had expectations of what I should be like as a mother. My home isn't as clean as I'd like it to be. My husband is Italian and I'm Indian. So there was also, which cultures do we do, and just so many expectations. And I think now I think I'm more comfortable in my skin than I've ever been. And I never thought that I was uncomfortable in my skin, if that makes sense. I didn't know that there was an issue. And I just think as a mother, just things get put into perspective. I'm also very lucky that I have a partner that constantly sees things in a different light, and he will say them to me. Sometimes too, he says, okay, you got that, PO, you've got to get that purchase order out. I get it, but it's not the end of the world if you get it out next week. And so if my daughter really wanted to do something, I saw a question that came up about how do you organize play dates, when you're an entrepreneur. I made that a priority. And so out of my week, if I said, okay, I'm going to do play dates from 2 till 4 every day, I scheduled it like a meeting. And I would make sure that I would put my phone down, I would do a play date, she would have fun, I would go out and do the mommy role. But then when I switch back into work, I would really do that role. But I just think having a child at 41 is a very different feel. And also when I would go to the mommy groups, I sometimes didn't really feel like I related, because the issues that everyone was really worried about, or trying to get the latest gadget and all of that, I felt like I'm done competing. I'm done with that. Like, I'm just going to do what works for me and be okay with it. And just settled in my skin. I'm quite happy, because I don't know that I would be as secure if I were a younger mom. I think I would be that one trying to be perfect. I don't compete for perfection anymore.
I love that. And Ashleigh, I don't know if there's anything you want to add. You've gone through this 3 times now. Is there a transition or a shift every time?
I don't know. So I had my babies really close together. And it was between being an academic and an entrepreneur. So I started this entrepreneurial journey with 3 young children. So the whole thing felt like I was reinventing myself. Like every day I was waking up to like, who am I today? And so for me, it was actually getting back to the root of things that brought me joy before all of that. So before I had kids, before I was an entrepreneur, like what were the things that grounded me and brought me joy? And so for me, it was faith and yoga and having those, couple of close friends that really knew me underneath the, veneer that I would put on when I'm pitching, or, the pressures I felt as a young mom. And those women actually didn't have children. And so for me, that was a safe haven to like really hold on to things that made me who I was, while going through this evolution of like, becoming the better version. Really, like kids make you a better version. It's like a refining fire. Burn off all the crap that makes you. So yeah, and I think my husband's gone through the same journey. Like I know there's at least one dad on here, or one male on here, and I don't think you can discount the transformation that you go through as a new dad too, with your priorities. Like, I'm not a dad, so I don't know, but I've talked to lots of guys who are new dads, and their priorities get shifted and rejuggled, and the career aspirations maybe get dampened because they realize the role that they need to play as a father. And so dads are going through it too. I think it's important to realize that that is part of your partner's journey. And like I mentioned in the chat, something that Matt and I do on every 6 months, we have a date. And we look at our goals and priorities of like who we want to become, and things that haven't gone well, we're able to like talk about and change, so that we're both kind of fulfilled and thriving in our lives. I think that's been really important to allowing us to change while keeping us rooted in who we want to be long term.
Yeah, I love that. Yeah, that's really great. I think if you take another thing away from this, everybody should schedule that meeting right now.
Yeah. Absolutely. For us, it can't always be at night because babysitters are hard in COVID. So we scheduled like, don't tell my employees who are on the phone. Every 6 months, we have a whole Friday afternoon where we go to the spa together.
Do you file it under like, business planning?
Totally, because it's completely like, are we on the right trajectory as people? Is this business aligned with what we want to see in the next 10 years? And how do we purpose what we're doing together as business partners? So
yeah. I love that. Thank you.
Yeah.
And Darcy or Kelly, anything on transformation? Yeah.
I just wanted to add that I find what I wasn't prepared for motherhood was that it's such a stark contrast. It's such one in the spectrum to the other, like completely opposite. I've never had anything so opposite in my life. I've never felt more like myself. I've never felt further from myself. And one thing I wasn't prepared for, was the whole reparenting aspect, about how having a kid brings you back to kind of your childhood and how you were parented. And that's definitely not something that I was prepared for. So I've never felt more like myself, like a mother, like I'm a mother now, but then I'm also going back to my own childhood. So it's very all over the map. And again, I think I just add the art of letting go. Again, type A, but you just have to learn to let go for your own sanity.
Yeah. Yeah, that's a great point too about it really does bring up a lot of stuff from, at least for me, like I definitely looked at my own parents through a very different lens after having children. Yeah, very different. Kelly, anything to add before we go to questions?
I don't know. There was a lot said already. That was a really good point. I like what Darcy just said. No, I was just gonna say, like with your relationship, I think I was fooled into thinking I was already parenting with my husband, so I knew how everything was gonna go, and like having a baby was a totally different experience. And I felt we had built this like great equal relationship, and it worked out really well because it was like his daughter, and I was coming into it and sort of figuring all that stuff. But obviously, like as the mom of a baby, there's so many things that only you can do. And so that totally changed the dynamic of our relationship. And it was really tough at some point. It was probably tougher for me, I think, like just trying to resolve that and like understand and go, okay, like this is a new season. This is a new way of doing things, and working around those things. So that was a big thing. I'm also a type A, like over planner. And, I find the more you try to plan things and try to like steer, the more you're going to hit resistance. So like just being able to like go with the flow as much as possible has been a tough thing to adjust to. But really, once I figured that out, like, I just feel like things have run a lot more smoothly.
Yeah. I'm really glad you mentioned the dynamic shift as well. Like I had it, but in the reverse. So Willow is my daughter, but not my partner's daughter. And when we had the baby, obviously together, it is extremely different, and I think it's what you said is true. Like, I think the expectation going into a kind of a blended family like that is like, oh, this will be easy. We're already doing this. But it is completely different. Night and day. Yeah, different levels of responsibility. Okay, so we only have about 7 minutes left. I want to see if anyone has questions in the audience. So please, you can put them in the questions box. You can put them in the chat. I wasn't able to keep up with the chat. I know our panelists were amazing and they were doing that as we were going and answering some. But if there are any questions that you have that haven't been answered, please put them in now. Honestly, as we're waiting for people to ask, I know, Mika, you had a question somewhere in here about how to be a supportive partner as well. I love that you asked that, so thank you. I don't know if anyone wants to, I know there was some answers given already, but if anyone wants to talk about that from their perspective of what their partners are doing that you find helpful.
I can, because I think what happened for me was I spent 4 months on bed rest while pregnant. And although it was difficult, it was great training for my husband for once the baby came, because I did a lot of the mental load that Ashleigh was talking about, and also the household labor and things like that. And he was forced to step up. He had to do laundry, cooking. I couldn't even take the dogs out. I couldn't drive. I literally couldn't do anything. So he had to kind of step up and do all of that before. So when the baby did come, and as I was healing, again, I'm breastfeeding, baby's constantly on the boob. It was a much easier transition. He was already used to doing everything, which allowed me that kind of time and space to heal and made the transition kind of easier for him on that front. And I do want to speak to Ashleigh's other point about, the dad transition, which is huge too. And worth thinking about, because we get it. If we're breastfeeding, we're the mom, the baby literally came from us. But my husband will say, he's like, I don't feel like a dad yet. Or do you think he knows I'm his dad? Like, they have that, it's a whole different dynamic for them too, which is worth mentioning and being cognizant of.
Yeah, so true. And Ashleigh, going back to something you said earlier as well, like the delegating and then being okay with like however it's delegated, that one is humongous. That one is huge. I just had this conversation with Jason not long ago. and I was talking like about like, oh, like what if he doesn't have like the next size sleepers, and like these are things that are in my mental load that I'm thinking about. And he's like, Erin, if I needed to like go somewhere with him and he didn't have a sleeper, I'd wrap him in a blanket. And I was like, okay, sure.
Yeah.
Let go.
And like I said, just letting go. Like the 3 a.m. fights don't count. We've had the most stupidest and worst fights. Like he'll put him in sleepers that don't fit him, and I like lose. Like nothing at 3 a.m. counts. Just you got to let it go. You got to wake up with a fresh mind.
Yeah.
I feel that's so hard, like because my husband stayed home for 14 months. And also I had an emergency C-section. So I also, again, those expectations, I had everything. I'm like my 2 months off, like I had everything planned out I was going to do. And then suddenly I was like recovering from surgery. And I feel like my husband is like the most supportive he could be, but he still drove me crazy. And then I felt bad for getting angry about the way he was doing things. So there's definitely a lot of communications. And I like, to Mika's question, which I love that you asked that question here. I think just, trying to have some understanding, like between hormones and not sleeping and everything else going on, and just the like shock of like having a new baby. Like it's really hard on both of you.
Mm-hmm.
And, I definitely learned that I needed to have a lot of understanding for my partner, and he had to sort of figure out, okay, I need to learn how to read her mind sometimes, because that's just the only way things are going to work out. And so I find that was like just probably the challenge there.
Yeah,
absolutely,
for sure. Like, and not waiting necessarily for your partner who just had the baby to tell you, can you please do this? I think this is so important. I think sometimes, our partners
initiative.
Wait, okay, well, you didn't tell me anymore. Sometimes we just need you to be like, hey, you know what? You did not sleep much. Why don't you just go sleep? I got this. Why don't you go outside? Here's the card. Go to the spa. Go get your nails done. Whatever it is, just, allowing you to have that time to just decompress and be alone and do something for yourself. I know with my first, I used to literally wait for my husband to come back from work. And like literally he's coming in and I'm like, here's the baby, here's the key.
Yeah. Oh man, for sure. For sure.
I'm out.
So just allowing, like giving that space and that time. But I really love what Micah said. And I really love what Ashleigh said as well, because we do have to be mindful that they go through some stuff as well, and maybe just open up that line of communication more, because oftentimes the focus is on us, mommy and mommy, as it should be for many reasons. But let's make some rooms there for them as well, and see where they are, where their headspace is at.
And I think it has to be direct communication. Like, sorry, Darcy. I think it has to be direct communication. Sometimes you don't have the space to like, I kind of understand what he's thinking, or vice versa, because for sure my husband's not going to know what I need. And so it's like writing it down and saying like, I need you to ask me if I'm okay for the next like 5 days, or I need you to do bath time. I need you to tell me to go to the gym. Like writing those needs down and being super clear about it just takes the resentment out that can build up if you're not having those needs met.
Clear communication and accountability. Like,
And I think also for many dads, they're struggling with perfection as well. So I know that I would say, okay, can you just load the dishwasher? And then I would tell him that he did it wrong. And I would get so like, you're supposed to put all the bowls up here and then do it like this. And like, I look back and I go, really, like our big argument for the day was that he loaded the dishwasher wrong. Like I'm angry all the time because he's not doing it right. And I'm putting him in such a bad mood because he's thinking he's not doing it right. Like he's
angry all the time because he feels like no matter what he does, it's not
exactly. So it's just like give them slack and let them be the expert in something too, and let them take over some of the mommy roles, or the traditionally mommy roles, and let them have something that they're proud of, and realize it isn't a journey of just ours. It's ours, like as in the couple and the people that are around you as well, raising that baby.
Yeah,
exactly. That's what I was just going to say, is to build on that, is that remember that just to be clear about, your expectations and your parenting and about what matters to you. Like, okay, if, dishes is really what really matters to you, if, you want to do gentle parenting, you want to do sleep training, like talking about how you want to parent and having those conversations, because again, the reparenting thing, you guys were both probably parented differently. Like I thought my husband and I were on the same page, but then when you have a baby and parenthood comes into it, it's a whole nother playing field. and having conversations and realizing, oh, we think differently about these things, even though our values align everywhere else, right? We come from very different childhoods, and just keeping that in mind and having those conversations and being clear and communicating about how you want to parent together.
Yeah, I love that. So I'm very cognizant of time because I know we've got babies and schedules and everything else. And obviously folks have other calls to jump to. So I just want to thank everyone for tuning in today. This has honestly been a great conversation. The hour flew by. I don't know if anyone else feels that way, but like we could talk about this forever. Thank you for everyone being so, lively and energetic in the chat as well, and for your great questions. I think on the Invest Ottawa's event page, there was links to our social accounts, I believe, on that page. So feel free to go and connect. And thank you, all of you, everyone here. Thank you for sharing and being open and typing in the chat and everything as we went. It was a really great conversation today.
Thanks, Erin.
Yeah. Okay. So I'm going to click end webinar. So thank you all. Have a great rest of your day.
Thank you, Erin.
Okay,
Great hosting.
bye.